So what happens
Okay.
if we consume the C8 and the BHB together? Now we do not switch off your endogenous production. Now you ramp up all of these systems without switching it off. So the C8 signals the body to ramp up ketone production while flooding your body.
Oh,
This is why
now I get
use
it.
them together. So this is why when you use them together, it's like rocket fuel.
Hello, carnivores, and welcome to session number 94 of the #1 bodybuilding podcast in the United Kingdom. Al Reeves is going to join Rich and me as we'll be getting deep into bodybuilding supplementation and discussing their upcoming men's retreat in Spain, which I'm absolutely thrilled for as we're just a couple months away. Currently, it is negative 45 degrees here in Montana, so this event cannot happen soon enough. Also, I am officially on prep for my next pro bodybuilding show on a strict lion diet and a couple key supplements from Keto Pro, so we'll touch on contest prep as well. Al and Rich, what's new, gentlemen?
How you doing, Cole? Good to be here.
Yeah,
good to see you both as well.
You too.
So, this men's retreat, what inspired this idea?
Well, I started this back in September. I was over in Marbella in May with an old friend of mine, and we just was seeing all these guys at the beach parties, you know, the pool parties. I went to some of those very expensive things. My friend really enjoys them. I'd never been before, and I saw these guys spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and more just to sit on a sunbed and get wasted. And that was me walking around, and all these guys coming up and girls taking pictures. How do you have a physique like this? And I thought, wow, this. And when I told them my age, of course, they was even more interested. And I decided, because it had been on my mind, I went on to my friend's retreat a couple of years before, which was a spiritual retreat. And then I've been on a biohackers retreat.
Wow.
There was always something missing. I wanted to do a retreat that incorporated biohacking, nutrition, and training, bodybuilding, and jiu-jitsu, and boxing, and a little bit of everything. And just to get men together, a bit like the Hangover, you know, let's get the wolf pack, back together.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because when we get over sort of 30, 40, and now over 50, you lose contact with male company, male friends. And I wanted to bring that back together, you know, not sitting at the pub just talking about football. This is a health retreat with a difference. So it's everything. It's a private chef, a private villa. We had WIM HOFF coming around doing us a WIM HOFF lady coming around doing us ice baths and teaching us the breath work. We had mountain hikes with a mountaineer, took us up to the top of this mountain. And so we're going to be doing all that. We're doing deep stretching on the beach in the morning and jumping in the sea to wake us up, all this sort of thing. And then it's straight to the gym. I'm going to be teaching the guys my methods. And of course we have Dorian Yates there as well. And he taught a couple of guys his methods, which I'm a Dorian Yates.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So cat's out of the bag now, but I was just going to ask who's going to be speaking. So Dorian Yates is going to be there then, huh? Somebody that you know.
Exactly. Cool. He's happy to say he's now a friend of mine. He was at the retreat last time because he's a local now. He lives literally around the corner. So he's going to be coming speaking, meeting all the guys, just telling you his story. And it's really fascinating hearing it from the horse's mouth, if you like. He's a very, very intelligent guy. And when you hear his diet, he's very much, he wouldn't say he's on keto, but then when you see what he eats, he is. He has a little bit of like potato or rice at nighttime, but all day long.
Yeah, all the old school bodybuilders, natural, enhanced, it doesn't matter. Just a shitload of red meat, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. He has his scrambled egg and avocado. That's the first meal of the day, which he normally has about 2:00.
Yeah.
And then he'll only eat one more after that. So, and he still maintains 105 kilos. He's still a big dude.
Wow.
yeah, so it's just fascinating to be around legends like that, and I wanted him to teach the guys what sort of mindset that you need to succeed, not just bodybuilding, because you can incorporate that sort of mindset into your business, into your relationships, into your friendships, just how to be positive and look to the future and build a successful life all around. That's where the health comes in, because as you know, a typical bodybuilder, certainly an Olympia, is not about health. It's about getting massive. Poetry is about health, incorporating bodybuilding and other forms of training as well. So that's why I started it. We did the first one in September, and it was a massive success. I mean, the guys, the guys just said it was so much better than I could have dreamt about. Inspiring, life-changing. And one guy said he'd never been away without alcohol, ever in his life. And there was zero alcohol there allowed. And he had the best time ever. And of course, he could remember it because he wasn't drunk. And this
That's the best part. And you don't feel like shit about it the next day.
Exactly. This time, of course, I've always been a big proponent of Keto Pro supplements. I've always used them now the last 9 years. And now Richard is going to be part of it. He's sponsoring the event. He's coming to talk at the event, not just once. He's going to be there every day. He's going to be part of this. He's going to be joining in the training. Have I told you that
yet? the UK's top, the world's top nutritionist. Yeah, if the event wasn't already good enough, cool.
Exactly. Cool. So Richard's going to be educating the guys with the science behind the ketogenic diet.
Are you guys going to be featuring like any specific Keto Pro products in particular, or just kind of everything? Or
well, I mean, he doesn't make. I mean, I don't want to speak for Rich, but he doesn't make products that are not beneficial to the diet. So we'll incorporate every single product that he does because they're all first class. They're all top quality ingredients. So every single supplement can be used if needed. You can do this way of life and eating without supplements. We know that, but sometimes you need that extra boost of calories when you are traveling, for example.
Need or want? There's some gray area there, right?
Exactly.
As bodybuilders, biohackers, we're always looking for. I'm almost kind of surprised it's not on the banned substance list. That's how pleased I am with, I guess, my results on. Or my experience using the exogenous ketones, because I'd never used exogenous ketones at all before, and so I am noticing all the same benefits that my clients are, and from and I guess from our customers that we've been reselling them here too since importing them from you guys in the United States. But it's mental clarity, it's fullness, it's dryness. It's kind of everything. There's even times where I'm stressed out and I'll be more relaxed after it. I've noticed that with both the flavored and the unflavored. It's awesome. It's almost like it's crack and Anavar in the same bottle, but totally legal.
Well, it's pretty new. I mean, talking of banned substances, the way the world was going, they was trying to, I think, ban steak and eggs. So it's luckily we seem to be taking a turn for the right way with the new appointment over in the USA with RFK. So yeah, that's exciting as well. That's exciting news. So let's see what he can do. And I'm sure he will be keeping steak and eggs as a staple meal for everybody. So that's good news. But I'll be teaching people also about what I have named the Alpha diet, named obviously after me being Al. But it means anabolic, leverage, protein and hormone optimization, activation, which, of course, I do a cyclical version of the keto diet, which for me and my clients has worked wonders. Again, it's a cyclical use of carbs, as I told you before, for a structured refeed. It's not a free-for-all. It's not a binge. It's not eating crap. It's still quality, nutritious carbohydrate.
Yep.
So I'll be teaching guys that And we also have Mike Coxis returning, owner of Balance My Hormones, which is the #1 TRT clinic in England. He owns that. So he will be looking at people's blood work and telling them how to optimize hormones, and obviously showing them a way if they need to go further with that. So yeah, a very good expert in his field. So exciting to have him back again.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Exciting
wonderful
stuff.
So exciting. Couple questions on the ketones from Keto Pro, if that's okay, guys.
Yeah.
Cool. So I believe that these are still in their infancy in the U.S. because nobody knows what they are until they're educated on them. And with the increased growth and rise in the popularity of the ketogenic diet, I'm just seeing like more and more opportunities here. Maximum dosage. So I've used as many as 10 to 15 servings in a single day to get through a couple 48-hour fasts. So like every time I got hungry, I would just have some ketones, and then it's like I feel great after. It's almost like you have to have faith going into it. Faith. So the Bible defines faith as Hebrews 1:11, the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. So I just have to remind myself that, yeah, I'm hungry now, and I don't have any energy now. But if I get more benefits out of the ketogenic diet by supplementing ketones exogenously, then that helps me to get through that next half hour, and then I feel great, and then I feel better that next half hour than if I would have stopped and had a meal. So that's kind of my mindset, and my mindset with my clients when we do these prolonged fasts. And then at the end of it, it's like, for me, I do it primarily for bodybuilding, and so when I'm already like pretty much ready to get stage lean, that does miracles on my physique right before a show. In terms of overdoing it, have you ever seen anybody just flat out take too many? I've taken more than that when I did the triple refeed that you coached me through. So I did a refeed on long chain fatty acids, a refeed on about 2,000 grams of carbs in the form of white rice, and then about as many ketones as I felt like I could dry scoop. I was just dry scooping them the entire day, and I gained 20 pounds.
You're hardcore.
1 week doing that.
That is hardcore. Yeah, look, ketones are something that we produce naturally. Yeah. Is there an upper limit? Look, there's probably an upper limit to everything. What I would say is a lot of these things are driven intuitively. I mean, it's, is there an upper limit to drinking too much water? Well, yeah, if you drink too much, you'll drown. But you do it intuitively, and you do that because sometimes you're thirsty, sometimes you're not. And it's the same when it comes to these things like electrolytes. So that's another question I get asked. Can you take too much? Well, in theory, yes, but your body is going to reject it far before, any problems going to occur. Your craving for electrolytes, for example, if it's there, means that you need them, and I think we do this sort of intuitively with the ketones. Now, the ketones work in a different way to the MCT, the C8. So the C8 MCT oil and powder, these, when we consume them, so let's look at long-chain fatty acids. We consume long-chain fatty acids, goes through the digestive process, and the long-chain fatty acids are absorbed by the chylomicrons from the small intestine, and they're transported via the lymphatic system to the liver, where the liver will then convert them into fatty acids via beta oxidation. And sometimes, depending on carbohydrate content, they'll go on to create ketones. And that's the fate of longer chain fatty acids, the type of fatty acids that we get from the diet.
So it takes a long time.
It takes a long time, and they are slow to convert into fatty acids, and they're slow to convert into ketones.
Kind of like carbohydrates. Like pasta takes longer to digest, right? And fruit takes less time to digest. So if you want to think of it that way in terms of fatty acids for a fat adapted athlete.
Spot on. So when we consume a medium chain triglyceride, it skips half of this process. So it doesn't go through the lymphatic system. It's sent direct to the liver via the hepatic portal vein, and they're instantly converted into ketones, whether you are ketogenic or not. Now, there are different types of MCT. We've got C8, C10, and C12. C12, in my opinion, is not an MCT because it behaves the way a long-chain fatty acid does, which by that, I mean, if you have a blend of C10 and C12, which a lot of MCTs are, the C12 portion are going to go to bind to the chylomicrons, and they're going to be transported via the lymphatic system, whereas the C10 is likely to go straight. And a portion of these even may actually go take that longer process. Whereas the C8, so we get blends of C8 and C10 also, or we can get pure C8. The C8 is always sent straight to the liver, so it's not pulled into this other fate of going through the longer chain fatty acid process. So the problem with this is if we consume a blend, then some are going into beta oxidation and then storing as fat, and some may turn into ketones. Whereas if we consume C8, which is the type of MCT that I make, which is the world's highest purity, by the way, by certification, this will create ketones whether we're ketogenic or not. So even if you consume carbs and you consume the MCT, you make ketones. Brilliant.
You just said that your specific brand is certified.
Yeah,
as being the most effective. Wow.
Yeah. So there's other brands
amazing.
on the market which are. So mine is 99.9%, and we aim for a minimum of 99.5.
Wow.
And it's basically 99.5 to 99%. Other brands on the market are 97 and 98, and the next highest, which is probably the biggest brand in the world, I won't mention them by name because I don't want to give them any traffic. They claim 99% plus, but they are closer to the lower end of 99. So
that was the first one I ever tried about 10 years ago in Canada, I think it was.
And they're in a purple bottle. So look, they are a good product. You know, a credit to the owner and the company. It is a good product, but it's just not as good as mine. And that's a fact.
Some of my clients use it. I know the one you're talking about. It tastes good too.
Look, I've got no bones with mentioning the company. They are a good product. The company is Keto Sauce.
Oh no, that wasn't. I was thinking of Bulletproof.
So mine is higher than Bulletproof also. Yeah. So look, and again by certification. And they're both very good brands. I think Bulletproof may even be 98. I think Keto Sauce is probably higher.
To be fair, I've tried them all, and your one is definitely easier on the toilet. And the gut. If you know anyone that's taken too much MCT, will not be constipated, and yours is definitely easier on that. So
and there is a reason for this also, which we can negate, and we can get into this. But you're right. I think it's, the quality doesn't make the difference. But again, if you consume too much, anyone who has overconsumed it can attest to the toilet problems.
I guess with ketones, though, Rich. I mean, I don't think you would be overdosing on ketones, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's mixed with like magnesium or salt. You'd probably be overdosing on that before you would the ketones.
So again, if we look at, let's take it back a step. So good point. But if we take it back a step and look at the ketones, the ketones raise ketones via a different mechanism. So they don't ramp up your endogenous production. Exogenous ketones actually switch off your endogenous production, which sounds counterintuitive, but it isn't.
This might be a question for later, but does that set you up to store fat more easily? So if you're going to have a big meal and you have exogenous ketones before that, are you more likely to store fat similar as to having like a bunch of sugar before that meal?
Yeah, spot on. Because we've flooded the body with ketones. Yep. So if we consume food around mealtime, then we don't need to convert these fatty acids into ketones because our body has them. So it's got to put them somewhere. So it's going to put it there. It's going to put it into stored body fat. It could be it could be in the muscle, but it's
so if you're on like one meal a day, it would be a terrible idea to have ketones in or around your meal. You want them throughout the rest of the day.
Yes. Now, so it doesn't mean that you can't. So I take ketones throughout the day. So I've had a raspberry bomb there with MCT, and there's a reason for that. I've had that while eating some beef. Now, my goal isn't to lose weight. Now, I may not look like this any longer, but I'm still pretty low body fat. My goal is not to be ripped and shredded. I'm not clinically obese. So I can afford to put in extra ketones because my body weight it fluctuates between an upper and a lower limit. So regardless of what I do, my body weight will change between that range, but it doesn't go beyond unless I push the boundaries in order to do so. So for me, it doesn't make a difference. For you
What's
guys,
the reason that you're taking them then? Is it for cognitive benefits?
So
keep your brain sharp?
Lots of reasons. So you can use them to lose weight, but how you take them is very important. For me, it's for cognition, as you rightly say. So if I do a public speaking event, then I need the ketones because my body creates them. But what I find is my body works with excess ketones. So when my ketones are elevated, my brain fires on all cylinders. I can think of these big words that I can't usually form or even comprehend. And I work 7 days a week. I get to the office at 8:30.
I can't relate to that so much, but I can understand the words that you're throwing out better when I take exogenous ketones.
So it's exactly this. Look, so because the brain will preference ketones even if it has the option of glucose. So you give glucose to the brain or you give ketones to the brain, it will preference 70 to 80% ketones, even if you overload the glucose. So if you were to put this much glucose into this much ketones, the brain preferences the ketones. Your brain is made of ketones.
That's why when you're already carb loaded on the stage, which like we don't eat carbs every day, but you and I at Peak for bodybuilding shows, we do eat carbs. That's why when your glycogen stores are full and you take exogenous ketones, you can still keep getting bigger and fuller.
Spot on, because they take oxidative priority. They're used for energy first. You can also do this with alcohol.
It works. I was like, okay, this makes so much sense in theory. We'll see if it actually works. And so here again, I did it for the Open Natural last year, and I did it to get my pro card, and I'm going to do it for this next show too. And then the men's retreat, and then I got the Open Natural this year. Those are my three biggest important dates on the calendar this year.
Great.
Exciting stuff.
Hell yeah.
But it's it is exactly that. So what we need to understand is that if we take MCT, we ramp up endogenous production. If we take exogenous ketones, we switch off endogenous production. But we ramp up systems in the body called the MONOCARBOXYLATE transporters. Now, this is super confusing because these are also called MCTs, monocarboxylate transporters, not to be consumed with medium chain triglycerides. These are the transporters in the body that allow us to transport the BHB, the beta hydroxybutyrate, in and out of the cells. And then we have enzymes called BDH, ACAT, and SCOT, which allow us to use the BHB. So when we gravitate into the lifestyle, we are inefficient. We waste many ketones as acetone, so we waste the ketones. This is what we detect on the breath and in the urine. Now, as we adapt, we utilize BHB. The exogenous ketones tell the body to ramp up this adaptation process, which means we can fast track. We can tell the body, this is our new energy source. We need to ramp up our game. Let's make new transporters. So it makes new transporters. It makes more mitochondria. And it makes more of these enzymes within the cell to allow us to utilize them. So it can fast track this process. So now that we've ramped the ketones in the body, when they come out of the body towards the end of the day, now your body ramps up its endogenous production. So now your fat burning, beta oxidation goes into overdrive. So when used sparingly, they can be very effective for fat loss, providing you don't eat around the time that you're consuming them. Now, there is a caveat to this, or it's not even a caveat. There's another lever to pull, shall we say? Remember, I said that the C8 ramps up your endogenous production. So what happens if we consume the C8 and the BHB together? Now we do not switch off your endogenous production. Now you ramp up all of these systems without switching it off. So the C8 signals the body to ramp up ketone production while flooding your body.
Oh,
this is why
now I get
use
it.
them together. So this is why when you use them together, it's like rocket fuel.
You've told me there's a synergistic effect, and now I get why. Now I get why they complement each other so well. That's cool.
Yeah. So you can use them individually. You can use them together. So you can, in effect, overconsume on the BHB, because if you overconsume and eat within a certain window, then you're going to store more than you're utilizing to a degree. So for weight loss, you use sparingly. Ideally, first thing in the morning during a fasted state, and then you're probably better off not consuming them for the rest of the day until the next day. If you do consume them in early afternoon to allow your body to ramp up its endogenous production later in the day. Now, coming back to your original question, it's some days I take them all day, and I do this because I work 16, 18-hour days some days, and I work six to 7 days a week. I work every Sunday, as you know, I'm live. So I tend to come into the office early and get bits done. But Monday to Saturday, I'm in the office from 8:30 in the morning till 8:30, 9:30 at night. I go home, cook a steak. I'm back on the PC, either researching or working. And I try to research for 3 to 4 hours every night in order to fuel, my knowledge and understanding into these biochemical pathways and so on and so forth. So that is exhausting. It's taxing on the brain. Now, I could not do this on carbohydrate, but I'm still working long hours. And what fuels me to do this are the exogenous ketones and the C8. I can do it without them, but I take in so much more. So it's, if I were to sit an exam, in fact, I'll give you an example. Recently, I've done a few escape rooms. So before I've gone there, I've taken a bomb with some MCT, and then I can see everything and everything makes sense. Whereas if I go in without them, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this? I can't think. My brain just, it's my IQ before I became ketogenic was less than 100. It was like in the 80s. Now, for anyone who knows anything about IQ, the average IQ is about 100, at least last time I checked. If you're below that, then you're obviously below normal. I was going to join the army, and I could only go in for infantry because basically I was too stupid to go in for anything else. And that's the truth. Now, when I left school, this was my IQ. My
brother's in the Air Force. I'll tell him that. He'll die laughing.
My IQ last time I tested was 159. Now, Einstein's was 160. So and I've done 3 IQ tests, all Mensa qualified IQ tests. The lowest and the first I did was 128. The next one was 140 something. The one after that was 159. Now, I am not intelligent. I am as dumb as they come. And that is genuine. The difference is I have a passion for something and I want to understand it. So it comes from passion, but it's living this lifestyle that has allowed me
to gives you the
energy to my brain. And this is what allows me to you think, Rich knows all these big super,
which is why this why this lifestyle isn't restrictive. It's freeing. It's because you're minimizing the types of foods that you eat, but look how much more you're able to get out of every second of your day because your diet is so on point. That's freeing. That's not restrictive at all.
Can these ketones be used for muscle building in that way?
So yes, and again, there is a caveat to this. Circling back really quickly, 80 to 159 or 160, that's double the IQ, by the way. So food for thought. Anyway, carnivore and ketone, that is the key. Ketone's superior. So being ketogenic, in essence, is a catabolic state, as we know. And it almost seems counterintuitive to building muscle, but I achieved this on keto. Look, I'm much smaller. And when you guys see me in the retreat in May, I'm absolutely tiny now because I'm competing in endurance sports. So because I'm so competitive, having wings on your bike and having extra muscle mass when you're running is counterintuitive. So I've cut back on all these things, and I've done very little resistance training in the last 2.5 years. So it's fit for purpose. But when I achieved that, I gained muscle hand over fist. And my protocol was that I made sure that I consumed more protein than I needed in order to fuel muscle protein synthesis, which I can explain what that is, by the way, if you want me to, because most people don't have a clue. So I consumed the nutrients in order to do that. I avoided the anti-nutrients, which prevent us or slow down this process from doing that. And we can get into this also. And also, I incorporated fasting, which we know is catabolic. But fasting, or even being ketogenic, living this lifestyle, it elicits a few responses. Autophagy, mitophagy, brown fat activation, increased insulin sensitivity, lipolysis, and many other things.
I incorporate fasting when I bulk too for the same reason. I have a guy that's lean bulking, and everything that you're describing right now is actually helping me to, I guess, better understand where to take his meal plan. So I'll have questions for you after you're done. But
Fantastic.
yeah, sorry to interrupt.
And look, this may answer some of them. So why does fasting allow us to build muscle? Well, when we fast, or when let's take the word fasting out of the equation, because we achieve these things when we're ketogenic, whether we consume food or not, by the way. But when we are in this state, we increase human growth hormone exponentially. Human growth hormone goes through the roof. And this allows us to elicit the anabolic responses without activating IGF-1. So we can stimulate the anabolic responses in the same way like we do with leucine, activating mTOR, and without having to do this via IGF-1. IGF-1 is important, insulin-like growth factor, but overexpression can lead to many conditions. And I believe that we don't want to overexpress this pathway, which is the pathway that becomes overexpressed on a standard bodybuilding diet, because IGF-1 and mTOR is activated via the carbohydrate, which means it's a long sustained activation, which sounds more beneficial, but it becomes problematic because your body needs a balance of mTOR.
It promotes growth of tumors and things.
It promotes growth of tumors and cancers.
Yeah. Wow.
So, it's, yes, we want to grow, but the key to this is riding, as we've discussed before, the mTOR reset. Activate mTOR, wait for it to reset, and activate it again. And we can do this several times. We can do this 4 times in a day while still maintaining the balance of AMPK or fasting and autophagy, therefore benefiting from the increase in human growth hormone, as well as the state of autophagy and mTOR activation, and so on and so forth. So there's a sweet spot in regards to this. What we don't want to do is overactivate any one of these, because even if we fast for too long, yes, we increase growth hormone exponentially, but we still need sustenance. We need those building blocks to grow. Yeah. So there is a happy medium. So, coming back Al, to your original question, I believe that living this lifestyle is not only is it possible to build muscle, I think that we can achieve it at a higher rate. Now, if we look from a simplistic point of view, what does a typical bodybuilder diet looks like? Okay, lots of protein, brilliant. Well, one, it's lean protein, and amino acids are absorbed and utilized in the body more efficiently when they're co-consumed with fat. So the amino acids need the fats. Our fat-soluble vitamins need the fats. We can increase muscle protein synthesis when we co-consume protein with fat. You don't increase muscle protein synthesis with the increase in carbohydrate, providing,
even though everybody tells you that you do, but go ahead.
Providing adequate protein is consumed. And adequate protein it basically means leucine, and we need about 1.5 grams to 3 grams. 3 grams is optimal, which we can obtain from 6 eggs, for example, or a serving of beef. So we've got that aspect. Now, what else do we co-consume this lean meat with? Well, we co-consume it with maybe some vegetables. Some people will use pasta or rice and so on and so forth. Well, these compounds contain anti-nutrients. They contain things like lectins and phytates. These phytates, lectins, and fibrous compounds can prevent the absorption of essential cofactors by as much as 100%. And I'll give you one example. Wow. Zinc can be blocked by as much as 100% if you co-consume it with PHYTIC acid. Zinc is essential for the production of testosterone. Testosterone we need in order to build muscle. Ergo, consuming your lean protein with PHYTIC acid, or the lectins, the fibrous compounds, is absolutely counterintuitive to maximizing your body's ability to grow. Yes.
So it sounds like glyphosate and the shikimate pathway, kind of the same thing as how phytates block that zinc absorption.
Exactly. So we can block zinc. So yeah, glyphosate and these other compounds can block the shikimate pathway, which go on to the neurotransmitter production and so on and so forth. So when we think from a simplistic point of view, everything in nature that comes with protein comes with fat. So an egg, protein and fat, almost equal ratios. Beef, protein and fat. Salmon, protein and fat. Chicken breast with the skin on is protein and fat. In our wisdom, We've come along and we think we know better than 3.4 million years of evolution, and we take the fat out because we think we know better. Yes, you can still achieve results, but bearing in mind, most of these people that you see on stage, you know, especially in pro bodybuilding, are heavily supplemented with anabolics, you know, so it's, and I'm not against that. That's fine. If that's your chosen career, then, you know, and you want to be competitive, then you need to be, you know, consuming. And this is why I came away from the bodybuilding, because I didn't want to go down that route. But it doesn't mean that you can't achieve incredible things. And in fact, if you were consuming the proteins with the fats and increasing all of these anabolic pathways while balancing the other pathways, we can absorb and utilize these proteins at a far more efficient rate. And basically, it means we build more muscle. Now, let's take it back to one step, and I'll bounce it back to you guys. Okay. Plants, broccoli, that's usually a staple in the typical bodybuilding diet. Now, broccoli causes something called clastogenesis, which basically means it damages the DNA. And this is a fact. Broccoli contains compounds that break our DNA. And I've presented on this, and it's one that I did say that, you know, we were going to present on your show one day, Colt, and we'll do this next time. I'll do this, and I'll show the papers that basically show that these compounds cause clastogenesis. Now,
fuck yeah, thanks.
And this is groundbreaking stuff, because why is this important? Well, what is muscle protein synthesis? You know, people within the bodybuilding community, well, muscle protein synthesis. Well, what is it? Bounce that back to them. Ask them what it is. And I bet they do not know. Because muscle protein synthesis comes from the DNA. All protein synthesis comes from the DNA. So what we do is we take our DNA. The body takes photocopies of the best parts of the DNA, and it sends it to another part of the cell called the ribosome. The ribosome is like a machine that reads the code on the DNA. So our DNA are in sets of 3. They're called codons. And these codons, our nucleotides, they run through this machine, and they code for an amino acid. And they're all different, you know, so they signal the attraction of different amino acids. And as this DNA runs through the ribosome, another amino acid comes in, and another, and another, and another. And we create a peptide. And then this peptide goes on to become a human protein. This human protein is what heals and repairs every cell within your body, including muscle. Now, when it comes to muscle cells, this is what muscle protein synthesis is. So we need this to work efficiently. What happens when we consume things like broccoli? It breaks our DNA, so now the code cannot be read efficiently. And it also causes something. It causes the increase of something called a HDAC. So a histone deacetylase. The HDACs cause your DNA to fold. So basically, your DNA is wrapped around groups of proteins called histones. And when these HDACs are elicited via the lysine tails on these histone proteins, it causes the chromatin to fold. So instead of having the DNA open and available for expression, it causes it to fold into a ball that is very difficult to read. So now we're trying to read code on the DNA that isn't accessible. So this is what the HDACs do. And there are lots of other contributing factors to this. I mean, there's things called acetylation. And, you know, we're familiar with methylation, where we get DNA methylation also. And there's phosphorylation and so on and so forth. So there's lots of different things that go on in the body. But essentially, this is one of the pathways. This is one of the things that occurs within the body. So when we increase HDACs, the chromatin folds, and we don't have this anymore. Now we're left with this. How are we meant to take photocopies efficiently of this? And that's what plants do. When we live a ketogenic or animal-based lifestyle, the chromatin unfolds and leaves the DNA open and available for more expression, which means we can photocopy the best parts. Now, you can't change your DNA. Wow. When you're born with your genome. You can't change your genome, but you can express it epigenetically via this process, which basically means Alan has the body of a Greek god. Now, I would argue his diet plays a huge role in this, but I bet his genetics are pretty good also. You know, he always looks incredible. Even at his worst, he looked pretty good, you know. Now, at my worst, I was clinically obese and diabetic, and I was a blob. But I've managed to achieve something close to Alan's physique via epigenetics and basically allowing my body to photocopy the best parts of my DNA, which basically means there's a saying, isn't it? If you can't beat genetics, You know, if when genetics go to work, you can't beat it, but you can outwork someone else's genetics if you work hard. And
Right.
that work hard for me is through this expression of epigenetics, which basically means if your DNA is shit, you can still be something extraordinary. You may not be as best as, you know, you may not become an Olympic sprinter or a world champion bodybuilder or whatever it is you want to be, but you can get pretty close.
You can get pretty good. Is that unique to broccoli, or is that in
all plants?
All plants.
Particularly brassica vegetables, so cruciferous vegetables, but it's all plants. So this presentation, which, you know, the three of us can jump on a call, you know, maybe next week, and we can go through this, and you guys can throw some questions in. All plants are problematic. They are on a scale. Some are way more problematic than others. Does that mean that you have to go your life without eating plants? No, it doesn't. You know, we can still consume certain ones now and again, but, you know, for me, I don't want to, so I don't. You know,
I guess the poison is in the dose, as they say.
Yeah, it is, and it's, look, you know, what I would bounce back to this when some people ask me is, so you mentioned, like, let's think of spinach. Spinach contains a compound called oxalate.
Okay.
And you're right there, Colt. Is it because we said spinach?
Yeah.
It is for sure. It's been years since I've had it, and I used to eat it every single day, thinking it was good for me.
I used to make smoothies with it.
Me too.
Yeah, I did anything to choke it down.
We all did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Choke it down.
Yeah, you got to put those oats in it too, right?
Watching old reruns of Popeye.
That's it. For the iron that we can't access. Yeah.
That's why I thought it was so good for me, actually. It was because of Popeye.
Yeah, me too. And we've all been there. And this is the thing. I think most people that see the information that we put out, they don't realize that we've been there. We've done all the things. We've been where they are now.
Yeah,
and we've learned from our mistakes.
Someone told
all of the people that are criticizing our posts are like that. None of them have actually done carnivore or keto, and then when you do it, you're like, oh, I feel
exactly. Someone was telling my wife the other day, she was doing a treatment on her, and thought, oh, you shouldn't consume dairy. It's going to block your iron, and now it doesn't block the iron from meat. It blocks the iron from vegetables. Is it heme iron, Rich, that we want to be having?
We want heme iron, yeah. And it's to do with something called the porphyrin ring, which
exactly. I knew you would know this more in detail than me. I just knew that dairy doesn't block iron in meat, but maybe it does in the plants. But it's not a problem for me. I eat a lot of dairy, and it's no problem. So
you're clearly not struggling, Al.
No.
Al, I think you look absolutely awful.
Yeah. I need a tan. I need to get
I like how Al was the one that asked if exogenous ketones could build muscle earlier, like as if he needs any help with that.
Well, you know, we're not getting any younger. It's my birthday next week, and you know, 52. So I'm trying to compete with Micah Hunt.
52 years young and looking awesome. Looking better than you did in your 40s.
Yeah, for sure. And again, with genetics, as we go back to that briefly, I was a mesomorph at school, never overweight at school. But my brother he was like short and fat one year, but then tall and thin the next. I just sort of grew steadily. It was never like 6 inches in one year, as some people did. My brother was like that. But genetics will only take you so far. In my 20s, yes, I could eat anything and still had a six-pack, pretty much. But then in the 30s, I couldn't. And then by the end of the 30s, I had also the other problems that come with excessive carbohydrate of acid reflux, which was terrible for me. I was eating Rennies all day long. Rennies called, what do you call it? Pepto-Bismol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, literally we have, what's the other one? We have Gaviscon. Drinking. Yeah. My dad was always drinking that. And then the doctor gave me the PPIs to get rid of the thing. I researched the side effects and I threw them in the bin. I also had medication for high blood pressure, which they said I had. They gave me beta blockers. I read the side effects and I threw them in the bin. I never took one. Then I started learning about the ketogenic diet. And that was one of the reasons. My dad had cancer at that time, so I was really into an anti-cancer diet, which, of course, we know keto can help with cancer as well. But that my acid went away within a week. And I haven't taken an anti-acid medication for 9 years. Literally, I took apple cider vinegar, which was the exact opposite of what the doctor told me to do. I was taking that, removing the carbs, and it just went away. And that's what I get my clients to do now. And they're like shocked that you can reverse this so quickly. Unbelievably quickly.
And do you know, in most people, I used to suffer with acid reflux. It's in most cases, it's to do with the lectins in the grains. So the lectins will bind to the mast cells in the gut. They'll cause a release of histamine, and this goes on to create acid reflux.
Yeah,
so
sit bolt upright.
Really?
And you feel this burning, literally like your lungs is on fire and you want to throw up. It's a horrible feeling that lasts a few seconds. And that was a regular occurrence, especially if you had a glass of red wine or something.
That's it. Yeah.
On the evening, it was even worse. But now I can have a glass of red wine if I choose. No acid, no problem.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, there's many, many miracles, as you say, that diseases that cannot be cured, like type 2 diabetes, or a doctor, it's progressive, and people put it into remission within weeks. I mean, it's a known fact now. I think that it's type 2 diabetes is purely diet related, not
100%.
Not genetic.
Yeah. What's up, carnivores? Friendly reminder not to overtrain your muscles or your mind for that matter. So we're going to take a break for just a couple minutes. I'm going to share with you something inspiring and then something entertaining for a second. And then we'll get back into the meat. Every week we feature a listener-inspiring success story from one of you, and we call it L.I.S.S for short, so that we don't confuse it with something that is horrible, which is low-intensity, steady-state cardio. Actually, it's not that bad. I went for a run yesterday, but we try not to make too much of a habit of it, right? And so this week's listener-inspiring success story is from Rusty from New York. Thank you so very much for this message, man. Love you so much.
Hey Colt, just want to give you a thank you for all this great content you've been pumping out. Your podcasts are so inspiring, helps to keep me on track with the carnivore way of eating. In fact, I've even gotten my wife to get on board. Keep pumping out the great content.
Thank you so very much, Rusty, for submitting that in. If you are a listener, everybody, with an inspiring success story, similar to what you just heard, send a video or an audio over to Rich or myself, Instagram, email, whatever is easiest for you, and we'll get your message out so that everybody can hear it. The carnivore community is growing across the globe. The more that we all share what's working, the more that we all learn and grow together. And in other news, there is still no shortage, none at all, of fraudulent coaches online. So beware who the fuck you listen to on social media. Clowns, bellends. Oh, sorry for my language, too. The B word. B-E-L-L-E-N-D. If you're American, you probably don't know what that means, but look it up. Or don't look it up. But whatever you want to call these guys, here's another deceptive Instagram reel that was sent to me by one of our followers. This one's on calories in, calories out. I still get asked this all the time. Why don't we track calories? Here's why. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to say who this is, but you'll recognize the voice on the guy at the end. It sounds like Coach Rich, because it is Coach Rich. Here we go.
The thing with keto, intermittent fasting, and whatever else, name some new random diet that pops up under the sun.
Time out. You just summarized how our ancestors used to eat. So how is that a new fad diet?
And they do is they force our bodies into a calorie deficit, which yes is great, and that is what you need to be able to lose weight.
False, here we go again. Calories are not the reason that you lose weight when you go keto. This is my lunch, a keto brick. It has a lot of fat in it. It's like mostly fat, and at 9 kilocalories per gram, it adds up really, really quick. When you go keto, so much changes in your body, starting with the fact that just the fact that you're in ketosis, it increases your metabolic rate by about 30%. But what do I know?
A calorie doesn't really exist in the context that we believe it to. They all have different... A calorie is not a calorie. And by that, what I mean is it's not the calories that affect weight gain or weight loss, it's the endocrine system. So the caloric model doesn't account for the effect on insulin, the effect of lectin, incretin effect, It doesn't account for the thermic effect of food, inflammation, ketogenesis, and many other things.
So there you go, everybody. Stop tracking calories. It's the worst thing you'll ever do. It's the biggest mistake that you'll ever make, in my opinion. And I think that if you just start eating a proper human diet, that's a lead domino, and it takes care of just about everything else, unless you're a competitive bodybuilder. All right, everybody, back into the meat. May I run this guy's, I guess, this gentleman's couple of questions by you that I was referring to earlier before we get too far away from lean bulking?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, wonderful, thanks. So his name is Dr. Rick Buchikos from San Francisco. He's been working with me for a month now. He is his website is nutritiontechnician.net, and he is a functional medicine doctor and human nutritionist raising awareness of the corruption in the medical system.
Wow.
I have him on basically a low volume, high intensity Mike Mentzer training program, and so that we're not getting too crazy high with his volume. He likes training Mike Mentzer style, and so it's something he's familiar with. I know it's great
to the
for
retreat. We've got the master of Mike Mentzer's training, which is of course Dorian Yates, who took
Dorian
it
Yates,
to the next level. So
the one that really made it famous, for sure.
Exactly.
So he just got out of a consultation with a geneticist, and apparently he's in the top percentage that he's seen for people with gut sensitivity. So he's a fan of having a smaller eating window because of that, because it's easier on his gut throughout the rest of the day, right? But we're lean bulking, and he's dealing with dehydration, liver heat. He has mold illness. And so he's taking actually a bile acid sequestrant to combat that. And that lowers cholesterol, even though it's not a statin. It's just a shitty side effect of it. So I have him eating in a 5-hour window right now, trying to get all that food in within as short amount of time as we can. His macros are 200 grams protein, 250 grams of fat. I think I have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's what I have him on. And so he's been following that pretty much every day, and it really feels like it's pushing the envelope with how much he can eat and just struggling to build muscle mass. In terms of his diet, it's like perfect, guys. I mean, like, I don't see anything he could be doing better other than he's not eating everything 100% raw. We were talking about at our last check-in how charbroiling meats and oxidative stress, how cooking his meats might be causing some heat stress upon his liver, because there can be some oxalates that are created from different cooking methods, right? And so I guess we're trying to figure out what possibly we could be improving with his diet at this point, which is already pretty damn good.
Yeah, the burning of the meat is going to create a number of products, one of which is acrylamide.
Okay.
So this acrylamide is a potent neurotoxin, which the side effects are similar to mold toxicity, interestingly. So it's, acrylamide can be incredibly problematic. This is why I stopped drinking coffee.
It's in coffee. Dark roast is better because it's less acrylamide.
So it's
I'm officially 7 weeks coffee free and caffeine free too, by the way. I wanted to kill myself for about 3 weeks, but I did.
Yeah, good news.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is he drinking coffee cold?
No.
Okay, so when it comes to cooking the meats, what I do is I put them into a pan, I put the lid on the pan, I put it on a low temperature, and I let it cook in its own juices. So it takes longer at a lower temperature, but it doesn't burn. So you're reducing the effect of the acrylamides and the other compounds that can be elicited via the conversion of acrolein and things into acrylamide. So that's one thing. The eating window, if he's struggling with digestive issues, I just wonder whether maybe more smaller meals.
Yeah, can he supplement though? Drink some. Some of Rich's protein.
Like almost like a protein powder or something. I think that his gut would reject that pretty quickly.
I doubt it with Richard's protein. I had a lady with severe ulcerative colitis, and she can drink his protein, and it's the only protein, and she's tried them all, that causes no issue at all. And she is one for being sensitive to everything.
Okay.
And she can drink his protein. So
I'll suggest that. Yeah. His meal plan, start to finish, throughout the entire day, is water, water and salt. No caffeine, right? Nothing, no other beverages. First meal is 336 grams of mince with either tallow or lard or no, excuse me, not lard. He is strictly red meat right now, and he's air frying pieces of suet. I can't remember what he called them. I think he called them greaves or something. But they're like little snacks that basically like come out like pork rinds. So doesn't even have butter in his diet. That's how strict lion he is right now.
So the air fryer, if you're using an air fryer, you need to change the internal.
Oh, sorry,
part.
and steak and organ meats for his last meal within 5 hours of meal one. So he has meal one, 50 grams of protein and 130 grams of fat, and then his meal 5 hours later is 160 grams of protein and then the balance of the fat. So he's at 200 and 250 by the end of the day.
Is he having gastro issues?
Good question. I'll ask him.
I would break the fat up throughout the day a little bit more.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of fat.
Important. Exactly. You said he's having ox bile. Was it ox bile salts, or was he having ox bile something else? He was having.
Oh, beef suet.
No, you mentioned ox bile, because ox bile salts will help break down the fat.
I don't know what ox bile is, but okay.
Ox bile, if you can't produce enough enzymes to digest the fats, it can help you digest the fat. But I think you said it was something from a doctor's, was it? I don't know what you said.
Yeah, you mentioned something about some sort of bile supplement, I think. Which,
yeah. That supplement that he's taking is called a bile acid sequestrant. I had to look that up. I didn't know what that meant either.
Yeah, the only issue with these can be beneficial in the short term. I mean, do you know why he's taking that, Colt? I mean, I'm guessing that he's having trouble digesting the food. If that's the case, it could be if we consume too much fat in the early stages. What happens is the bile is released, and it acts upon the food that we consume to increase the surface area, so the pancreatic enzymes can then go to work and it can move on through the rest of the digestive process. Then bile should be reabsorbed in the small intestine.
Okay.
If you're new to this lifestyle, it doesn't get reabsorbed and it can cause gastro distress. So if he's suffering with gastro issues, then all we need to do is lower the fat, and you're better off making smaller meals more often throughout the day to allow the body to adjust. The bile supplements can help in the short term, but they do ramp down your endogenous production also. So
you think we should spread out that 5 hour eating window then?
So I think you'd be better off with smaller meals, less fat, smaller meals, spread throughout the day. Look,
right, 8 hours. I mean, it's still a lot of hours not eating. Why 5? Why not 8?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I want him all those benefits that we were just talking about in terms of
you will still get a lot of benefits
of why to throw in fast earlier, even when you're lean bulking. Even when your goal is to build muscle. I guess if we stretch that out, I'm worried about that being more taxing on his digestive system, because that gives him a break so that he can.
You need to find out
if he spreads out protein throughout the day. That'll kind of be counterproductive towards that goal, right?
If he's having digestive issues, though, because he's eating so much in a short time, then you have to spread it out a little bit more.
So it depends on how he's coping with. I think it's a case of going back to the doctor and asking him, how is your gastro system? Are you suffering with gastro distress? Are you suffering with IBS? If there's a reason, or if that is happening, then, as Al says, spreading the meals, lowering the fat. What? It's if he can consume. I mean, it's very unusual to be able to.
I'm just thinking that any more protein would be. He wouldn't need that to build muscle. You were talking earlier, Rich, about how much about having more protein than what you need to make sure that you're fueling your muscle growth. And I guess I'm just wondering if you have a typical number or a formula that you generally throw out. He was asking me that at our last check-in too. And so in terms of bulking, I always just try to keep it
1 gram
50 to
Yeah.
1 gram per pound.
1 gram per pound. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say 50 to 60% higher than his lean body mass, but that's
So look, but you
say
can
ballpark.
go higher. I think one is a perfect number, and that's the one I tend to work with. You can push it up as to 1.5. Additional protein is fine, providing it's not causing issues, but you're more likely to have issues from the fat than you are from the protein. But if he's suffering with gastro distress or the inability to absorb nutrients, he'd be better off splitting the meals to a much smaller quantity, so they're easier for the digestive system to cope with. But putting it into one
3 meals over 8 hours, it's still plenty of time for his gut to rest.
Okay, so basically, like his revised meal plan that I'll do coming out of this, I'm thinking I should have him on a little more protein, a little less fat, spread it out through 8 hours, 2 or 3 meals. What do you think?
It really depends on his symptoms.
Yeah,
I think that's what you need to go back with is ask those questions and then develop it from there. It's lots of moving parts.
Yeah, there's just lots of complications, and so we're both kind of scratching our heads.
If he's having enough protein and he's stimulating muscle growth with his Dorian Yates style training, which will stimulate muscle growth if he is going to failure, then he's doing all that correctly.
Yeah,
it's just getting his stomach right to digest what he's actually eating. Then you're going to win.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, guys, exogenous ketones. So he's an athlete, a damn good looking athlete with a fucking awesome physique, and so would exogenous ketones for performance benefits and like in that stuff that we were talking about, would you be concerned about his digestion on that?
Provide so the calcium could be problematic, but he's not going to know until he tries. I have just produced a new formula that has much less calcium in there. Now, calcium.
Are you talking about the raspberry bomb or the DBHBs?
The raspberry bomb, but I guess this guy's off caffeine. But we may use this profile across the board. But look for coming back to the digestive issues. He can upregulate. So what's happening is if he can't digest the food that he's consuming, we need to stimulate the bile acids and the stomach acids. And we can stimulate the stomach acids with taurine and zinc, and we can stimulate bile production via things like choline. So zinc and taurine, that's what I recommend generally for people who suffer with digestive problems, because if we can't digest it at that point, then we suffer with malabsorption issues. So I'd rather use zinc and taurine over a bile supplement.
Right. I mean, if he takes the BHB on the empty stomach when he's in that fasted state, that will help heal his gut anyway, because that's proven to heal the lining of the gut, right, Rich?
Yeah, spot on.
So it's only a benefit there. That and maybe glutamine, that will help heal the gut as well. So once that's healed, because what diet was he on before?
I don't know how long he's been on carnivore keto.
Right. I wonder how long he's been away from.
He's no newbie, that's for sure.
Right. Okay. All these things matter, and it's hard to answer it specifically. Yeah. It's just a bit of a broad answer when you don't know the full details.
Right. Cool. Good stuff, guys. On the MCT oil, if you're using just the BHBs and not the raspberry bomb, then so you taught me that MCT oil combined with BHB creates a synergistic effect, and now I understand why. Thanks again for that. It's so brilliant. I was going to ask. I've just been suggesting to put either ghee butter in it or coconut oil in it, with coffee in the morning, or pre-workout, because that's a good source of MCT there, right? So
but you don't need it. It's
don't need it. Okay.
Yeah. Again, if you put in those in, they become longer chains, and the longer chains can break fasts also, whereas the medium don't.
The coconut oil would be better than the butter, though, wouldn't it?
So that's good for cholesterol production also because of the C12. But you don't need it if you've got the BHB. and the MCT,
Okay.
then your requirement for the longer chains isn't there for the energy and for all of the other benefits. And sometimes it can even dampen. Lots of people do mix them. There's in some instances there's no reason you can't for flavor and taste and things, but you don't need it for energy, and you don't need it for its effectiveness. So I try to take them naked in essence. I don't add anything with them. I don't add butter. I don't add ghee. It's
You're talking just straight up C8 powder, just straight up refined C8 powder, huh?
Yeah.
With the ketones. Okay, because like I don't have C8 powder, right? So
I put
or oil.
I put Richard's
Okay.
oil in my Greek yogurt in the morning.
Your MCT oil, right? I forgot that you had MCT oil. Right on. Okay.
Yeah, I pour it in there. All powder.
Somebody doesn't have access to that could I guess could use is what I'm getting at. Ghee butter, coconut oil, bulletproof coffee on it, anything like that has MCTs.
And so MCT is available everywhere. Look, you don't have to purchase mine and import it from the UK because it's going to cost you more to get it there.
Yeah.
Find a C8, in the States, if or wherever you are in the world. For the listeners, I don't care whose C8 you use. If you're in the UK,
what are some good natural sources? Is there anything or
goat's
do
milk?
you need?
Goat's milk is a good source. And again, it's A2. But look, I don't believe we should be consuming milk either in excess. We shouldn't consume.
Yeah, you were talking about that on your live. We're the only species last Sunday, right? And you were saying that we were the only species that not only consumes dairy from other animals, but also consumes dairy at all past childhood. So we have two things going against us.
Yeah. So A2 is best. Goats is better.
Okay.
Coconut oil is okay. The thing with coconut oil is it does contain phytosterols, and it also contains oleosins. Oleosins can be problematic for the gut. So for clients who suffer with intestinal permeability, coconut oil may be problematic. There was a question I was asked recently, because the coconut oil contains the phytosterols, which lower our cholesterol, is it counterintuitive to health? Well, it isn't, because it's also higher in it's either C12 or C14. I can't remember which one, but one of them, this lauric acid. The lauric acid. Is that 14?
I'm not sure of that. I was going to say lauric acid because that also is for things like antiviral.
Yeah, that's it. And C8 also is antiviral, but it's
I think it's C14. But,
yeah, 14. I think you might be right.
Cool.
Let's have a look. I'm gonna find it now. No, it's 12. So we were right the first time. It's 12. So we were right. C12. The C12 allows us to increase cholesterol production. So it's not going to lower. So the phytosterols in there are offset by the C12. But still, it does contain the phytosterols and the oleosins, which may be problematic. That's why the C8 version in itself, we've removed all of those nasties. All we've done is we've taken the C8 from coconut. So 6% of coconut oil is C8. All we've done is taken all of those 6% and put it into one bottle, essentially.
Cool. Okay.
We've removed all of the other bits in there that we don't want, and we're left
I thought
with...
it had a higher MCT content than that. So it'll work, but you're still better off with something more refined like a supplement.
So it has a higher MCT content, but C8 is the one that we want when it comes to coconut oil. So it's 6% C8.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
Every day's a learning day.
What about peppermint oil? Because just like practically speaking, I've been putting a couple drops in. Any more than that is way too much. This is just doTERRA peppermint oil. So what I've been doing is, because like I'm like you, Rich, I take these things for not just working out, but especially for music. So like last night, I played a jazz gig. Tonight, I'm playing a jazz gig again. So before every single time that I played music, worship doesn't matter. I always have ketones and I always have salt, and that always helps me to get in a peak state of mind. And I'm always fasted, right? I like putting in peppermint oil with it as a bonus. My breath is nice, and so and I kind of just feel like I have more energy because of the few drops that are in it. Do you think that there's any?
So, look, Al's got an opinion on this, probably, I'm sure, but look, it's my opinion is if something is working for you, then fantastic. What I try to do is I try to give people as much knowledge as I can so they can make an educated decision. I don't use any peppermint or any mint or any pepper for that matter. Pepper contains compounds which can block phase 2 detoxification in the liver. And it's incredibly problematic for me. If I consume any form of pepper, I explode in cold sores.
Oh, me too, especially black pepper.
Yeah, black pepper, black and white. So look, if you're not seeing any negative from the peppermint oil, then and it's working for you, fantastic. You know, I can't consume it, so it's one of those things that I need to stay clear of, and you know probably many people do. But if it's working for you, then keep that in. But it's
heck yeah.
Anything.
Sometimes we have a little placebo effect because it tastes nice, or if it makes you smell nice, then it's not a bad thing to. With all
man, like I love my hot cup of chocolate, my cup of hot chocolate every day, and it's just Keto Pro ketones.
Exactly. So no, sure. It's all good.
Do you guys do the unflavored ones or the flavored ones personally?
What, ketones?
The ketones, yeah.
I've got the chocolate ones.
That's what I have too. God, those are good. The unflavored ones don't really taste very good. Is there a way to hide the flavor?
So look, full disclosure, the unflavored are absolutely disgusting. But look, it's the same with the unflavored electrolytes I do. I try to make the best product that I can.
Unflavored any supplements taste like shit. Like, you know that going into it.
Except creatine. Creatine doesn't taste of anything, does it?
But that takes a bit of getting used to. I think when you're new to creatine, it's
got really?
But it's you and I don't taste it any longer, you know. So look, the unflavored version is there for the elite carnivore. For everyone else, the chocolate has a little bit of cocoa, and the amount of cocoa in there. So why would we not consume cocoa? Well, it contains oxalate. Okay. Well, how much oxalate? Well, it's this much oxalate. It's a minute amount of oxalate. Well, does that matter? Well, let's look at why oxalate are a problem. Oxalate are a problem if we consume too much because oxalate are a breakdown product of collagens, glycine and hydroxyproline. So they're a waste product. Our body has the ability to cope with this waste product. And typically we detox between 20 to 30 milligrams a day, but our body can cope with 100 milligrams per day. So I don't consume oxalate from anything else. So that tiny little bit of oxalate that is in that cocoa powder is not going to cause any problems. You know,
again, the dose. Oh, okay. The poison's in the dose.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, so it's.
I've got 10 minutes, guys. By the way, so yeah, I've got a little boy to get to bed.
No problem, guys. We've been chatting for an hour, and so I had just a couple more questions, which maybe we could just save until next week if you guys wanted to, or.
I'm up for next week. I think.
Yeah, I'm free. Yeah, no problem. We can fix it. But can we mention the website that they can look at the retreat?
Yeah. Where does everybody go for information, dates, sign up, all that? I still need to get my flights, and so you and I are coordinating with a few other people on that, and then. My client Daniel, he already got his tickets and is ready to go. But yeah, tell everybody where we can go for information on this, please.
UMH. What happened there? UMHR. Oh, it's on this screen. UMHR.co.uk. So the Ultimate Men's Health Retreat.co.uk. So UMHR.
There he is.
Let's go.
So I know be able to apply on there. Fill in an application form. We'll see if you're a good fit for all the guys that are going to blend in nicely with them. There's Dorian and Mike, who owns Balance My Hormones. Fantastic gym. Wow. Probably the best gym in the whole of Europe. Half of it's outdoor, half of it's inside. Now they've fitted cold plunge pools. They've fitted jacuzzis there in this gym. It's really fantastic. That's the villa that we're going to have. We have our own pool. We have martial arts experts.
That's you in an ice bath right now?
That was in my ice. I had to go first, which, of course, I was leading the way.
You look so peaceful for being in an ice bath, man.
And they didn't tell me, which it makes sense. It's coldest when you're going first, of course, because everybody warms it up, especially if they have a little pee in there.
Yeah.
It didn't look yellow, so I was in first. It was -2 It was.
That's a beautiful website, mate.
It was pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's Dr. Asim Malhotra. He's a friend of mine. He was going to come. He was all booked to come and advertised to come. And then the last minute, he had to shoot to Washington. I wasn't allowed to say why, because this was before RFK was obviously in power. Now he is. He's going to be part of his team to make America healthy again. So Dr. Asim, once he gets his schedule, he said he's moving to Washington, etc., if he's part of that team. So if he can come to the retreat, I will have him as well. But that's not confirmed. But it's possible. He can look at, he's a cardiologist and, an expert. He's wrote a book on the ketogenic diet as well, called the P.H.A diet, which was a sort of Mediterranean style keto.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's a big advocate of this way of eating.
Wow. Amazing. Cool. Can't wait, guys. Sorry, I just bumped my microphone. You guys can still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Groovy. Awesome. Thanks for thanks for God, like the master class, everything I learned about C8s. I mean, like you know how it goes, guys. This is going to be a week of me kind of unpacking everything and explaining it to everybody, and then coming back with more questions. And so, super excited for next week, even more so for the retreat. God bless both of you. I guess one more one more supplement question from somebody that actually just purchased them, if that's okay. Just kind of curious if you have any thoughts on it that maybe I could pass along to her before she gets her package that's in the mail.
By the way.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is one that was just purchased off of our website. So she emailed me. Her name is Morgan McCarthy, news director at Midwest Family Broadcasting in Wisconsin, USA. She says, as I was continuing down the long healing path, your podcast, Carnivore Coach's Corner, this podcast was one of those in rotation, and hearing of the ketones and potential advantage that Rich was talking about of them is what piqued my interest for placing my first order. So far, they have been one of the few things that I have been able to incorporate into my day and diet that hasn't triggered a bad reaction, GI flare, or otherwise negative consequences. So not sure if you had any thoughts there for like how she can best use them, but she's a public speaker and apparently has some GI flare. So
is she having problems off them? Was that the
I don't think she's got them yet. I think she's
that's what she.
It was the only product that she didn't.
She's saying that exogenous ketones in general is something that she does well with, and so I'm not sure. So I'm just not sure if you have any last minute tips or just any thoughts for her if it's something that she struggles with.
Start small. Start with one scoop and work up. The recommended serving size is 3 scoops, but you need to build up to this. So start with one. To be honest, so I've had some in there. 1 scoop is plenty for me. In that context. So just start small. As I say, start in the morning during a fasted state and use an as and when required. But it's, don't use more than you need. So this is why the scoop versions are very beneficial, because you can increase via incremental changes,
Yeah.
But sounds like it's working, so fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for doing everything that you do. We'll chat again soon.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, as always. Cheers, Code.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
And thanks to the listeners.
Thanks a lot for listening, everybody, and make sure to let us know what you thought of this episode. You can shoot Rich or myself an email at rich@theketopro.com or admin@supersetyourlife.com. You can send us a DM on Instagram at Colt Milton, at Richard Anthony Smith. Richard and I both offer private one-on-one nutrition consultations and monthly coaching services for those who are really serious about getting some real results. First call, if you've never booked with either of us, is always free. If you're one of our listeners, we would love to hear your story, answer your questions, and help you out in any way possible. Carnivore coaching has been a cause worth dedicating our lives to, for sure. It's who we are, and we'd be honored to help you experience what this lifestyle has done for us, our families, and our clients. Thanks to everyone who's been subscribed and listening since the very beginning, and for those that have recently joined. So that's all we have to say until next week. All right, everybody. Until then, you can check out Richard's Keto Pro podcast. Richard and his guest and his co-host Alan Reeves teach how to improve their health and well-being using a ketogenic diet. And so all of the supplements that we were talking about before, in the show notes of this podcast. And then one last thing before I'm off, lions and lionesses, and that is on skin health. If you've been following Rich and I since the beginning of the show, you know that we don't only abstain from eating plants, but also from putting them on our skin. I thought Rich was crazy for this a year ago, but I used to get zits all the time before eliminating plants from my diet. Now I look younger, I feel younger than I did 5 years ago. My favorite product at the moment, probably the white peppermint. I just ran out of it, and so we got more. And this stuff, it's not oily in the same way that most lotions are. That's the best way that I can describe it to anybody that hasn't had animal-based, tallow-based skincare before. So basically, it's like lotion. It's not quite as runny, and it doesn't make my hands insanely oily to where I can't do stuff with my hands because my hands are slippery. That's like every plant-based lotion. I don't know. So before music gigs, I like to use this kind of lotion because it's really cold right now, so my hands actually have cracks all over them. So if I'm going to play a guitar, just to get them moving, it makes it more comfortable. I can slide up and down the fretboard faster. I like how it smells, and so just being around other people in public, the white peppermint, and it gives my skin like a shine that wasn't there before. So that's the best way I can describe this this product, and that's why I've been hooked on it ever since I started getting into it 6 months ago. Didn't have time to tan before guest posing at the Open Natural, so that actually was what I just put on my entire body before stage, and nobody complained. So thanks a lot, everybody. Share this with a friend if you found it helpful. Hope to see you at the men's retreat, if you're a man, that is. We'll catch you next week on session number 95. Pick up a lot of the topics we were on today that we didn't have time to get into. And so until then, say this with us: eat like a lion, live like a lion. Love you guys. God bless and have a good week. Until then.